second. Give me a second.
Yeah, what you doing over there?
We're starting a story.
It's your
Well, welcome. What do you remember of the last things we played? And we'll just go and describe that.
Ben was in a tomb. He was looking for an electrical current.
Didn't you?
One of his tardigrades was following.
Now, what I remember is that you went through it and you ended up going through that conduit along with your tardigrades or some manner, and you ended up like in front of a building. Do you remember the building? What do you remember about the building?
Tall, ominous, multi-layered, really, really tall, like maybe a few hundred floors, kind of tall.
Yeah, it's a
Windows, full-on windows, lots of light.
So that is in fact the truth, and that is where we are. Now, I'll start you out there. You're trying to find the tardigrades, right? Or you're trying to, well, you can do anything you want, but...
Well, initially, we realized we were in some kind of celestial prison of some sort.
Right.
And the people walking around are all celestial bodies that are actually being tuned and used like batteries.
Uh-huh. Right.
And in this world, the tardigrades were taking the form of the warriors from Exaltea, and they look like themselves. And we were picketing in front of the building to wake up to reality.
What was the picketing for?
For them to wake up to reality. The classic picketing kind of thing, but...
Well, we found out that's where I'll start you out. As far as you're concerned, that's kind of where you are. And here we are. You find yourself kind of like sitting on the sidewalk, and there's a great big demonstration with lots of banners, lots of flags, lots of signs, and they all have different letters and writing on them in different ways. You can't really read any of it. There's all kinds of things. What would be the first thing you do?
Well, I've been out there. I have my own sign to wake up to reality. Your God's trapped in another dimension.
Hang on a second. Your sign says what?
Wake up to reality, and on the other side it says your God's trapped in another dimension.
Somebody comes up to you and says, "What's that? Which side are you on? Are you the old presiders or the new presiders?"
What are these presiders?
Well, there's the old presiders that some people think should still be in power, and then there's the new presiders that some people think don't have any legitimacy as a presider. Then you've got people, those anarchist kids, they don't want any presiders.
Man, what's a presider? I don't even know what that means, yo.
A presider is our good government, Well, it could be a bad government. Depends on who you are, really.
Listen, none of that really matters because you're all trapped in another dimension.
We're trapped in another dimension? What do you mean?
Dude, I've been there. You're all in tombs. You're in entombed. You're being used like batteries. You're being imprisoned in another dimension. And I came through this force field and I found you, and I'm trying to get everyone out of this world.
The guy looks at you and says, "You're crazy," and he walks away.
Yeah, no, I get that. I've heard of that before.
You see?
I'm crazy, you're crazy.
You have dice, Gail?
No, I don't have any dice.
Okay, well then I'll roll for you. I'll roll for you. You get an 8. I'll roll you one more time. You get a 3. You fall down. You trip on something on the ground.
Oh, God.
What do? You're on the ground.
I looked down to see what I tripped over.
It's a little satchel, like a purse.
Oh, did this dude drop his purse?
No, it has nothing to do with that guy.
I pick it up.
Okay, what do you look? There's things inside it. You look inside.
Is it really busy around me?
It's a huge demonstration. No one really is paying attention to any particular people.
Okay, I put it in my pocket, and I pick up my sign, and I head towards the business area, screaming, "Wake up! You're trapped in another world."
No one really pays attention to you. It seems that there's like people who are siding with the old presider. Some people are siding with the new presider. And then you have some people running around in black throwing rocks at people who don't want any presiders. And so do you look inside the bag?
All right, I'll sit down. I'll put down my sign, and I look inside the bag.
You have there's like notebooks, and then there's makeup, and then there's different kind of things like a candy bar.
Oh, like a bigger bag. I thought it was like an itty bitty little bag.
It was a larger than it's like almost like bigger in the inside than the outside, but just slightly. And there's also a very like a workbook that says you can't really read it, but you can see. Well, roll your dice. I'm going to roll your dice to see if you can kind of decipher it. Okay, you got 15.
Can I make it out?
Where do you want to go?
Try to decipher this reading.
I could take a picture of this for you and send it, but in general, it's got a lot of things like this. It says recruitment, and under that says psychic enslavement, engrammatic management, networking, social gaslighting, trauma reenactment, trauma engramming, trauma management, financial incentivizing, sexual relational incentivizing, addiction incentivizing, goal failure retry training, goal management, engram cycling, suggestion, maintenance, termination, when necessary, handing off the psychic leash, family obligation, corporate occupational obligation, and threat management. You can turn the page if you want.
No, I think, man, these people aren't in a fake celestial prison. They're just in the reality I came from. The same hullabaloo, the same bullshit.
There's also, inside the bag, there's also an address book, and there's a couple of, like, business cards, and there's this really pretty card that's, like, an invitation to, like, a dance.
A dance?
What'd you call it?
Well, I think for a second, and I try to see if I can't contact, well, I would try to talk to Melchizedek and ask his advice what to do.
how would you contact Melchizedek?
Because one of my tardigrades is with him.
So you're going to talk to your tardigrades.
Yeah, see if they can't get to Sunny that I'm in a crazy city and I don't know what to do, and I got invited to a dance.
Well, it's like whoever dropped this bag, you have a feeling from the tardigrades that person was with Melchizedek, and there might be other people with the person. You have a feeling the person is a woman. You also can see...
But not that this bag was dropped for me or nothing.
It was probably an accident that it got dropped.
Alright, what else is... anything else in it?
Makeup, a candy bar, what else is there? There's, and I say an address book. Oh, and a bus schedule.
Anything marked on it?
There's certain bus lines that are circled.
Bus lines in a circle.
No, not in a circle, like circled. Like certain people, like there's like 100 buses and certain numbers and letters are circled. In other words, probably those are the ones that whoever dropped this would use those ones.
Where am I?
Well, you're still standing on the street.
On the in reference to the map.
You see that there's a hub of buses just about a block away. There's like a bus stop that has like maybe 10 buses that go through it.
And so am I doing this, am I taking this bag to this party?
It's up to you what you do. You can go to you probably have several ways, you probably several addresses, you can go to several places. You can go to the place where the party is, or you can go to the addresses that may be more like a home to the person, or you might go to a friend, like different friends. There's like 3 main addresses that are circled, and they're in different parts of the city. Do you have a coin or anything, man?
It's possible I have something from the tent earlier.
No, personally, Gail, do you have anything to flip or roll or anything?
I don't actually, I'm sorry.
That's okay, we'll roll for you. What would you like to,
I don't have much of myself.
You say you don't have much of yourself?
In my cell.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. Well, you can kind of figure out that you can take several buses to go several places. You can go to this party, which seems to be a large, like a ballroom. You can go to one of 3 addresses. There's one that says, the Loft, and it says Tobit's place.
Tobit's place?
There's one that says Uncle Stanko.
What?
Uncle Stanko. And then there's one that says hotel/home.
So I have a lot of places that I could hit, huh?
Yeah, and it kind of like, there's like detailed notes as if the person was kind of afraid of the outside and had to be very careful. You know what buses to take to each of those 3 places.
Alright, let's start with Stanko.
Uncle Stanko is down from bus 666.
What?
Do you want to go on that bus? Because I have a sound effect.
Okay then.
Okay. The bus is just coming by.
Oh, great. It's a 666 bus.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything.
You get on the bus?
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you. Thank you.
The nice thing is the buses in this town seem to be free. So you drive down.
How do you manage that with all that paperwork I write?
You travel out of the downtown area into a rather nice area. Lots of fountains, lots of statues, lots of trees, topiaries, little park. It's a very tall building. Not as tall as the one you left, but it looks residential. There's gardens on the top floors. And it is the address you're going to.
Yeah, there's a button or full screen. And I get off the bus and, yep.
Okay.
I get off at the stop.
What do? You could go to that building.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up to the building.
Okay. Do you ring the doorbell?
Sure, I'll ring the doorbell. I ring it again. Can I ring it like a few times?
Yeah. You just sit there and ring a couple times. A voice says, "Yes."
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I found a book bag and I think it belonged to someone at this address.
Oh. Well, come on in. And they buzz you in and let you go in.
Yeah.
A doorman looks at you, but he looks down, and evidently something on the desk is telling him to go flag you through. So you're just walking through. He just nicely points to one of the elevators. You go into the elevator. The elevator there's no buttons on the elevator. There's no floors. It just takes you up.
That makes me nervous.
It's very nervous. Takes you up to the penthouse. It opens up. And you're in a very nice, very expensive kind of foyer to the rest of the apartment. And there's a man there. He's like, "Hello, are you here to see Mr. Stanko?"
I think about it for a second. And I take a look at the backpack. The backpack looks swanky like this place.
Yeah, it's a very nice purse. You know, it's a very nice big purse.
Yeah, I was told to come see Mr. Stanko.
Oh, well, follow me. And he takes you down a hallway past some fountains. There's an internal little lake, if you will, not a lake, but like a small pool. And there are these eels that are jumping around, and they're very long, and they have nothing but teeth on their faces. There's no eyes on them.
And in my head, I'm just like, damn it, this is screaming like evil kingpin.
I think you understand. The butler takes you in and sits you down and says, "I'll take this purse then."
Oh, hold on. Can I ask one question, please?
Sure, absolutely.
Can I keep the purse?
Why do you want to keep that purse?
it would just be really nice to just hand it to Mr. Stankoff himself.
All right. All right, well, okay. And he walks away. And then,
And do I have any time? Do I always have to look for a bathroom or a window?
yeah, you could do that. You've got the purse in your hand, and you're walking around, and, where do you go? There's a balcony. There seems to be another hallway away and a hallway this way. There's a hallway going east and a hallway going west.
I open it. Is there anyone out the front door?
There's no one on this. It's very large rooms, but there's no one around. There's like chairs and tables and things like that, fireplaces, and this big pool with the eels in it. And then,
Oh God.
and then the butlers walked away into the east wing, leaving you sitting at this kind of dining room table. And there's a balcony right in front of you.
Oh, there's a balcony right in front of me.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I've seen too many movies where people fall off with parapets and stuff.
Yeah.
So do you think Mr. What was his name?
Stanko.
Stanko. I'm so nervous. He's not even the hitman. He's not even the kingpin. He's like the son of the kingpin. He's like trying to prove a point. And he'll just kill me because I'm here.
Maybe.
That's what I'm worried about. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the front door open as if I left it, and I'm gonna hide on the balcony.
Okay, so when you say front door open, your front door is way behind you. He walked you through this whole area and sits you down on a long table. And then there's an east wing that he went into. There's a west wing you haven't seen. And then on the other side of you is the balcony. So do you go back to where the elevator is, or do you go to the west wing, or follow the butler into the east wing, or go onto the balcony? Those are the main choices.
Now I'm just nervous as to if this was the best first place to choose to go. And I'm thinking if I should hide from this Mr.
Stanko.
Or if I should wait it out. But I wanted to have an exit strategy.
Well, consider it. Take your time and think about it, friend. You've got a minute. Talk it out. Talk it out. Tell me what you're going to do.
I thought of opening a few doors.
You will go to the east wing or the west wing of the main doors. Do you go to the east wing where the butler just went in, or do you go to the west wing wherever that leads, or do you go to the balcony?
How big is this place, man? I live in Chicago.
It's a whole. I'm sorry, I should make that clear. It's a penthouse. It's the entire floor, the entire top floor of this big building. It's like many square feet, like thousands and thousands. It's a very wealthy, like millions and billions of dollars kind of place.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a look at that address book again and see if there's any significance, if she's been here or not, or if it's just a place on the list.
You notice then that there's like a letter that's been folded over, and it's in very nice stationery, and it smells like a very pretty kind of golden, kind of somewhat masculine and pretty cologne.
Masculine cologne?
Yeah.
And what's the letter say?
It says, "My dearest girl, I know it's been so long, but you must make the decision. It is the right decision. You know that the family must be united this way."
Oh, okay.
And it goes on like that, with a lot of very affectionate things, and then there's like some poetry that seems to be somebody else's poetry about love and young and old people getting together and winter, spring, and just shit like that.
Okay.
"You are my sacred flower. I will keep you by the hour." Things like that.
It doesn't say her name at all?
Oh, it does say, it says, "My beautiful Cassandra."
Okay. Well, I can put it away.
if you don't do anything, something's going to happen. But are you going to make it?
Okay, yeah, I sit down.
The butler comes in from the east wing and says, Mr. Stanko will see you now.
Okay. And follow.
You follow, and there's a very large, several fireplaces in an office. The office itself is, I don't know, it's got to be like almost the size of several houses. It's a very large place, very high ceilings. There's several full-size trees that are in potted places, and they're growing out of the ground. There's a waterfall in the back. There's some soft music playing, but I don't have that. I'm sorry, I don't have a sample for it. But it's like violin music. Actually, you look over, and you see there's actually several people playing, like violin, viola, cello, things like that.
And do any of them look like they've seen someone die in front of them?
They look like they're just working.
Okay.
You notice that, you should have noticed this, and I'm sorry I should have said this. Everybody, as you realize, most everybody in this world seems to have like a clear glass complexion, and you can kind of see inside them. You can kind of see like a visible man from the 70s. Like the idea that you can see their organs and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a man, and he's sitting there kind of on you remember the caterpillar from smoking the hookah in Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah.
He's a very big, fat man, and he's sitting there with like a gray powdered wig, and he's smoking a very large hookah. And he's sitting there and saying, "Thank you for bringing my daughter's bag back to me."
Oh, yes. I just thought it was a terrible thing not to have for a student.
My dear Cassandra is very much working hard to study. I have been sending her very, very, very encouraging letters to hope that she learns her letters. I really appreciate... Go ahead.
What?
I very much appreciate you bringing this back, young man. Is there any way I can reward you for it?
Yes, maybe there is something.
What would it be? Name your price, my friend.
I'm looking for a man named Melchizedek.
I do not know that man.
Oh, well, it was a good try. Some cash will do.
How much would you like? Name a number and I will give you that much.
100,000 million.
We are not that deflated yet. I could give you 100,000 talents. Would you like that?
I was just kidding. Yeah, that's cool. Let's go.
Would you like 100,000 talents?
What does that kind of look like?
I'll write you a check. I will write you a check. I will write you a check. You can cash it anywhere.
Do I need ID?
Of course you do.
Damn it.
Well, I could pay you in cash, but I don't have 100,000 on me. I could give you perhaps 10,000 talents.
I mean, look at me. Do I look like I'm from this world?
Well, all of us are foreign here. This family is a Mulekite family, and we are all very foreign to these shores. I have built a great empire here.
Do I look transparent, not to sound ironic or rude?
No. You're one of the only people that you've seen that still has skin and color and
right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying to him. Do I look transparent, not to be rude?
There are many foreign peoples in our city, and I, as a Mulekite person, understand what it is to be a stranger in the land. Just like my darling Cassandra, who I will definitely return the bag to when I see her.
Is she? Oh, so she's your darling, huh?
Yes, she's not really my daughter, of course. She's someone I think of as a daughter.
Oh, okay, I get you. So she's young. She's young.
And beautiful.
Oh,
She's so beautiful. I would like to see our lives entwine, and all the money and fortune of her family and all the money and fortune of mine will become legitimately one fortune.
can I ask a weird question?
Sure.
Have you ever considered that you might be trapped in a dimension, in an imprisoned tomb, where you once were almighty deity and now are subject to a strange human life?
No, I've never considered that.
Alright, I'm just gonna take these talons and go.
Okay, he goes, he claps his hands, and the butler comes in and gives you a small bag of money. You see, they're kind of silver.
I like that, thank you.
They're kind of silvery coins, and you can see that he's giving you high denomination so that you don't have to like carry 10,000 things around. It's more like there's probably 100 things. So what is the math of that? Like each of them are worth like 100 or something.
So I got some cash.
You got a lot of cash.
Okay.
He's like, is there anything else that I can help you with?
Yeah, so now that I got this cash, I'm kind of looking for a place.
Oh, what kind of place would you like?
You know, nothing too high up, just something overlooking the city, maybe.
Perhaps I'll give you a place in the same hotel where Cassandra is. I've been paying for her to live there this many years.
Okay.
I will, and he goes clap, clap, and then the butler comes and he signs something and gives you this. Hand this on to that address, and you will be set up with a room very close to my darling Cassandra.
Okay.
You have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
The butler sees you out, and you go back in the bus? Or what do? Like, what, you're on the street now in a nice, like, urban neighborhood with a bunch of pretty, high rises and parks.
Okay,
And
I gotta go. I gotta get a nice car.
I don't know how you could get a car with talents, sure, but you have to go find a place where you get a car. Everything seems very bus related here.
Can I have a montage?
A montage?
Yes, can I roll for a montage?
Well, how about we get you back on the bus, man? Because I've got a soundtrack for that, you know.
Yeah, busting around montage.
Okay, you're going back in the bus.
Pardon me, thank you. Excuse me, don't mind my big bag of talent. Thank you, bye.
Oh, where are you heading, Gail? I'm sorry, Penn. Where are you taking the bus?
Well, what was I remember you told me 2 other locations she had mentioned on her listing.
Yeah, you could have gone to the hotel the same place that he sent you to a place with a letter to get you a room at the hotel where evidently Cassandra's living.
Yeah.
And the other place is a place that says Loft Tobits.
That's what I was thinking, the Tobits thing, going to that. And doing the hotel last since I was connected and it was still on the list.
I see.
So, head to Tobits.
As you go toward, there's a roadblock, and all the buses stop, and there's evidently several other buses that have been stopping. There's a crowd of people, and they're kind of angry, and they're kind of being held up, and there's being questioned by local constabulary, as well as some kind of army people, and they're just looking through all the people and kind of searching them.
Oh, are they police?
Yeah, and they're evidently they're blocking your way to the neighborhood where Tobit is, which is like some kind of dockside, like down by the Bowery Docks kind of neighborhood.
Huh. Do I have a chance to get back on the bus before dealing with these guys?
No, the bus itself is stopped, and they're going through the bus, and they're asking people to get out of the bus, and they're all questioning them and searching them and stuff. They might search.
This is terrible time to have a bunch of talent.
Oh, somebody comes up to you. Some of the police folk have like, have you been in the city long, sir?
No, not long at all.
Where are you from, sir?
Chicago.
Chicago?
Hey, you said that really well. Are you from Chicago?
No, I'm from here. This is the city of AI.
Yes, I know.
Chicago?
Yeah.
Why did you come here from Chicago?
You know, kind of got just zipped along.
You zipping along?
Just kind of got zipped along.
Sorry, sir. Would you mind stepping over here?
Oh boy. No, that's fine. Over here.
Is this your money, sir?
Yes.
How did you get this money, sir?
I got this from a man named Mr. Thickpickle. What's his name?
Yeah, I remember his name.
I got.
Think if you can remember his name, it's important.
Yeah, I got it from this man for finding his daughter's bag.
You don't remember his name, Gail?
No, I forgot.
I'll have you roll. 14. His name is Stanko.
Oh, shit. I almost forgot. His name is Stanko.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Stanko money.
Oh, well, that's all right then. And they just kind of like let you go. And everyone else in the crowd is just kind of very angry. They're kind of like getting, like, do you hang out with the crowd or do you go on about your business? You have to be on foot now.
Oh, so like if I give someone else a piece of Stanko money, he'll let him go?
I don't know. I mean, you have money that evidently was a famous man, and the police waved you through. Everybody else is just people on the bus, so they're being questioned and searched, and there's like maybe 100 people there, kind of late for whatever they're going to try to do, and there's like 3 buses, and they're all just sitting there. The bus drivers are sitting there, kind of smoking cigarettes and waiting. And
okay, well, I'm gonna get off the bus then.
yeah, you're already off the bus. They had set you on you're on the sidewalk.
We keep walking towards my destination.
Okay, as you walk by, you're walking and walking. I'm gonna roll the dice. Oh, you have a 20. You see a person come up to you, and he's like he looks like he's gonna try to like maybe muscle something away from you, and then like some bird shits on him and he runs away.
Okay.
You rolled a natural 20, so I would just give you a crit. Nobody's gonna mess with you. Although the area is very derelict. It's very not like a lot of people there, but just a lot of broken down buildings. But you see a concert is what you call it, like a venue is let me see, give me a moment as you walk by. Let's see. There's some people, and they're all drinking and watching and dancing, and they're listening to these bands starting up.
What
all that shit?
Well, I go to them, I'm like, this is STANKO, what do you touch it?
And the guy looks at you and says, I don't know who that is. Are you going to give him 10,000 talents to just hold for you?
No.
What are you going to do?
That's what that is.
It's money.
Like an obvious bag, is it like a paper bag or something?
It's funny, like, everything in this town is very, what we would call modern, like a modern city, but things are like Dungeons and Dragons kind of things in it. So you have, like, basically a bag that looks like a bag from a medieval time period full of coins, and everything is on a bus. You know what I mean? So you're now in, like, a hipster bar where people are dancing and slamming around, listening to this band.
Okay, I'm going to leave my tardigrade with my bag and stuff in case someone touches it, they'll tell me.
Okay.
And I'm going to go dance.
Okay.
So who's on the dance floor?
Oh, maybe 100 people. All kinds of young people, some older people, and they're banging around. There's a lot of slam dancing shit going on.
Yeah.
And then there's people on the side, and they're just kind of jumping up and down. There's couples and triples kind of hugging as they dance around. There's people kind of happy and drunk and smoking what appears to be marijuana or something like that. Hashish, cigarettes, closed cigarettes.
I like go up to someone smoking and try to get it, see if I can get a cigarette.
And, well, you left your money in the coat shack, man.
Yeah.
Who do you ask? There's a young woman, an older man, and a guy who has like a hat over his face so you can't see anything about him except he's got a beard coming out of it.
Talk to the lady.
How you doing, friend?
Hey, can you spare one of those cigarettes?
Oh, sure. Here, take two. They're closed cigarettes. They're closed cigarettes.
Oh, god damn it.
Oh, you don't like closed? I got menthols and regular. Which one would you want?
Here, I'll go back here. I'll take the regular.
Okay, here's two regulars. Sorry about that. Here, take a third one.
In my tabs at the bar, I put one in my ear and one in my coat pocket, and I like one.
It's actually not a bad cigarette.
This is what I'm talking about. Thank you very much.
So you're kind of sitting there on the side. You want to sit at the table. You're standing and you're smoking your cigarette, and the lady's like kind of looking off at the band.
Yeah, I'll go to the bar, get a tab, or get a drink or something.
Yeah. You're having a good time, friend. You're having a really good time.
So I asked the bartender if he's ever heard of that. He said he's actually a deity imprisoned in a tomb, and that this whole life is a fake existence.
Oh, you sound like that band that was in here last week.
A band, huh?
Yeah, they're called Escape the Chrysalis.
Escape the Chrysalis.
Yeah, you want a t-shirt of theirs? We have one left over. You want to take it?
Yeah.
It's a shirt that says Escape the Chrysalis, and there's like kind of a what do you call it? Like a butterfly escaping out of a cocoon or a chrysalis, and there's a beam of light coming out of it. It's a very pretty shirt.
Are there any band name people on it? Name of the band?
Say it one more time.
Anyone of the band names on this shirt I recognize?
Nah. These are people you never heard of.
I thought that this might have been the girl's backpack for band or something.
No connection. You're on your own now. You're off the main plot. You're kind of doing something else now.
Oh, well, I get rid of my shirt. I put the new shirt on.
Perfect.
And, yeah, if all is well and doesn't seem, so there's nothing really going on here at this venue, she just had it marked.
Nothing really to do. I'll just say one of the problems I'm having out of game, Gail, is that if you were to go to a place where Miguel was, I wouldn't be able to do that. So you had to like be delayed and not get there. Do you want to stop here, or do you want to do some planning for the next time? Because I know you got things to do tonight too.
I got a little time. I go for another hour.
Okay.
Another 20 minutes or so.
Okay. Well, as you're sitting there, you're listening to the band. Like, tell me what you want to do.
What's her name? Isabella?
Who's Isabella? The girl?
Yeah.
You mean the one that you helped? The person with the bag, or the person you just got the cigarette from?
Yeah, the one with the bag. I'm not so sure if I helped her yet.
Her name is Cassandra.
Oh, Cassandra, did I just hand over Cassandra's bag to a creep?
Yes.
For a large amount of money?
That's right. That's what you did.
And do I have a moral conundrum now whether or not I should go and maybe help out this Cassandra lady?
You easily could have that conundrum. Unfortunately, you don't have dice, but I'm gonna roll for you. And you roll you don't roll enough, so you only got an 8, so I can't help you.
Well, I thank for the cigarette and I take off out of the bar with my stuff.
Okay. You leave. You're back on the street.
And I think it's about time to go to that hotel space.
Okay, you turn around and go back. It takes a long time. Did you get back to where the bus is? Some of the buses are going back. They're not letting them go forward, but they can go back, and you could take a bus back.
It's circular.
You could take a bus back into the rest of the city and maybe get to that hotel if that's what you want to do.
All right.
Okay, as you do that, and it takes a long time, but you get to where you're going.
So what's the bus like?
The bus is a boring bus, not a boring bus, it's just a regular bus, you know. It's actually, it's a I got this, it's like a 3-decker bus. All these buses are 3-deckers, yes. I forgot about that. Like, you know, double-decker buses from London? These are 3-decker buses.
So there's lots of people.
Yeah. And you finally, if there's nothing you want to do on the bus, I'll just have you get off at the hotel.
Yeah, that's all right.
So you walk in, it's a kind of a brutalist architecture, kind of like one of those, you know, kind of ugly buildings that look like they were built in the 50s or 60s. Well, in the United States, that would be what the decades they'd be. But there's like some kind of spray painted graffiti of various kinds of lettering. But a lot of other buildings around there has it too. And you just go in, right?
Yeah.
There's a desk. And there's a person working at the desk. They're not really looking at you.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Mr. Stanko said he had a room for me.
How do I know that? A lot of people name drop him.
And I hand him a bunch of talent.
Oh, well, there's also something else. Remember he gave you something.
Oh, yeah?
Do you remember what he gave you?
I forgot.
A letter.
Oh, right. I give him the letter.
He keeps the coins you give him, too. Thank you, sir.
That's
That's a tip. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Come on up on this elevator. So you go up in the elevator. There's no buttons in the elevator. It just takes you up.
How do you know where to go?
It seems to just know. And it spits you
I
out.
the butler.
The doorman?
Yeah, how do you know where you're going?
You should just know where you're going, man. Like, how do you not know where you're going?
In an elevator, though, how do you know which way you're going?
The elevator knows. Everything's AI in this town, friend. That's the name of the town. and he doesn't say anything else to you, and it gets you onto what floor would you like to be on?
I thought he knew.
But it asks you, what floor would you like to be on?
Who's asking me? The butler?
No, storyteller, is asking you, what number would you like to be on? Or would you want me to roll the dice for you?
The floor, whatever floor he has a room to be on.
You're on floor 14. You go to floor 14, and he takes you to a room, and he gives you a little plastic card. Gives it to you. There's two of them. He gives you both of them. Enjoy your stay, sir. And he walks away.
Thank you.
And you walk in, and it's a nice little room. There's a bed. There's a couple chairs. There's some kind of ionoscope, by which I mean a TV.
Okay.
There's a lamp. There's some paper on the desk. There's a pencil. There's a telephone. There's a fan. There's a balcony. There's a bathroom. Nice shower in the bathroom. There you are.
Is there AI?
What does that mean?
Is there audio AI? Is there like a Siri thing?
How would you know? How would you test that?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, shit. What are you? Hello?
Can I be of service to you?
What is it?
I am here to help you. I am the hotel.
You're the entire hotel?
I am the entire hotel.
Can you tell me what people are doing in other rooms?
Of course not, sir. That would violate their privacy.
You're a hotel.
I am a hotel. I help. You have what you need.
They're already doing the thing in your rooms, so they're violating of your privacy. They're doing the things in you can't not know that it's happening, so you're already violating their privacy.
Could you rephrase your question, sir?
I didn't even know I was asking that in the first place.
Is there anything you need?
Yes.
You can always order room service 24 hours a day.
No, I want to talk to you, hotel.
You have me, I can help you. I'm here to make your life convenient.
How many hotels are there?
There are, let me see. There are 10 hotels that we have in our family.
Are you a living hotel? Are you AI?
I am connected to the great AI of the AI city, as all must cooperate and comply. But I am also your personal friend. What is your name?
Wait. That doesn't sound good.
Would you like to make a personalized account?
You don't need to call me by my name. You can just call me that guy.
Well, that guy.
Yeah, that's right. If anyone asked, like, it was that guy.
Well, that guy. I am so happy to help you.
So how do I get out of this dimension?
Please rephrase your question.
How do I get back to the dimension I was in that was like a picture book?
Please rephrase your question.
Am I in the real world or am I in the imaginary world?
This is the city of AI, one of the finest hotels in AI. We hope you enjoy your stay.
Listen, but I'm not from AI.
places and they come to have a vacation here.
Do they get manifested in an energy light beam?
Please rephrase your question.
Do they become corporeal from nothingness?
Please rephrase your question.
Do they disappear out of thin air?
Can I offer you some snacks?
No, that's a hotel.
Would you like to order from room service or find the pool or gym? Or would you like to complimentary look out the window into the very nice balcony with a view of the city?
Do you have any information on Melchizedek?
Who is Melchizedek?
I don't know, he's a biblical character, maybe kind of a deviant king. He's mentioned a few times in some books, maybe.
Please rephrase your question.
Can you look up the religious figure Melchizedek?
Yes, I can. He appears twice in a codex called the Bible, important to many, unimportant to more. He's in chapter 14 of Genesis, mentioned in 2 verses.
What was he?
He came back from a battle against King Chedorlaomer and freed the 5 cities of Canaan from his conquering tyranny. Elam was the name of the empire that was overthrown by Melchizedek and his 5 allied cities. He is related to a man named Abraham who went into a land called Sodom to find his relative Lot. That is all the information that I have got.
Is there a place called Sodom?
In the magical worlds beyond AI, many things can exist and don't, and do, and never die, because they come through where we are right now. And anyhow, this is the hotel that wishes to help you. Would you like some room service? 24 hours a day.
Yes, I would like some service. Do you know anything about the Green Dragon?
No, I do not know. The balcony offers a very nice view. The showers are very, very warm, unless you want them to be cold.
Could you prep me a cold shower and open breathe?
The cold shower turns on.
Could you order me some breaded popcorn shrimp, the big one?
It will be delivered shortly.
And then could you tell the staff at Life to Mean English and give them all a big bag of money?
Please rephrase your question.
Nothing, I'm going to go take a shower.
Okay.
And I go use the facility.
It's a very nice shower. You feel very nice. You like cold showers. I didn't know that about you. But yes, you're having a good time with that. And you feel nice and clean and happy, and there's all kinds of complimentary things like there's lotion, soap, there's body soap, there's face soap, there's conditioner and shampoo, there's a makeup remover, there's a blow dryer.
Oh, I use all that stuff.
You're looking great. You're feeling even better. The popcorn strips arrive. A little person gives it to you. Stands there with their hand out like this.
I give them a handful of talons.
Oh, thank you, sir. And then he walks away. And the popcorn strip's very nice. You have a whole basket of them.
And I take a big basket of shrimp and I go outside my door and I go to neighbors and I knock on the door.
I'm so glad you did that, because that's what I was hoping you would do.
What?
The door opens and you see several people, and one's a kind of a mean-looking woman, and someone who looks like her brother, and several other people, and they're all kind of like sitting around playing video games on the couch, and you see like they've kind of trashed the place, and the lady looks at you and says, "What do you want? Did you bring me my popcorn shrimp?
Wait, what?
Did you bring me my popcorn shrimp? I've been asking for a long time."
I actually brought some jumbo pop shrimp I got earlier, and
I'll take it. She rips it out of your hand and slams the door in your face.
This is about right. This is what. So I knock on the door again.
She opens the door and she says, "What do you want?"
You forgot the rest of the popcorn shrimp.
"Oh, thanks." And she grabs the rest of it and then slams the door in your face.
But the rest of it is, hold on. I knock on the door.
She opens the door and says, "What do you want?"
Well, I want to eat some popcorn shrimp.
"Well, go get some."
Yeah, I brought it into your plate.
She's about to slam the door again in your face.
And I walk in.
You push past her, and you see a picture of a person on the desk that looks quite like the guy you met, Mr. Stanko, with a young kind of pretty girl on his side, and then another copy of the same invitation to the same dance that's sitting there. There's also people just smoking cigarettes and stuff. And somebody's saying, "When is Cassandra going to get back here? Getting tired of that waiting."
I know this door chick.
What's that?
And I say to her, the one lady at the door, so, is she be friends with Mr. Stanko?
"My name is Six. I'm much more important than that motherfucker."
Oh, wow, that's a lot. That's a big statement.
"We're all more important than that guy. To hell with that guy. Lousy mulekite.
Oh, what's a mulekite?
They're foreign. They're always foreign."
Like, me?
"Well, you're more foreign than they are. Where the hell are you from?"
I'm from Chicago.
"Chicago?
Everyone says it so well here.
Where the hell is Chicago? Is it in the landfill somewhere? You look like you live in the landfill."
No, well, no. I live in Chicago, in Illinois, in the United States, on planet Earth.
"Sounds like very much something you'd find in a landfill." And they all laugh. "Landfill. You're a landfill wastrel, cast off of the landfill."
Hey, you got a cigarette?
"I'm not going to give you my cigarettes. Get out of this room. You don't even know Cassandra. Why are you even here?"
I do too know Cassandra.
"How do you know Cassandra?"
Well, I know her through Stanko.
Wow. This little guy, a little person on the bed playing the game says, "Why don't you let him stay? He might have some money." And her brother comes up and says, "I'm 7. You know what that means? I'm 7th from the source, friend." And the lady says, "I'm 6 from the source."
From the source?
"What's your number?"
What does that mean?
"What's your number? How far are you away from the center?"
0.
"You're 0? They all get up and look at you. "You better get out of here. You better get out of here now." Somebody picks up a phone and starts calling them. "Excuse me, we have a violation. Could you send somebody, please?"
Wait a minute, what?
You hear a sound. You hear.
I'm getting a little tired. Maybe this party is a little too dank for me. I'm just gonna go back next door. And I head back out.
You see some people. You see some hotel security running out of the, passing you up.
When I go back to my room real fast to close the door.
Okay, I'm going to roll the dice to see how well you do that. And you got 18, so you're okay. They don't even see it. And it's so good. You went in there so well that they didn't see that you're next door to them.
So what's going on? Listening.
They're having an argument. He says it's zero. He says it's zero. There's a zeros here. The actual zero. Beyond the source. We have to track them down. Well, I'll look into it, ma'am. You see that you do. I'm 6. I'm 7. We're not numbers, but we're important. Shut up! You're with us! And then there's like an alarm that sounds. And the AI says, "Excuse me, sir. I don't mean to bother you.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the sword?"
No, why are they looking for me now? What's the source?
"Oh, they're looking for you, sir. I did not know that. Please stay where you are and remain while we wait."
No, I just meant that sardonically. No.
Oh, were you talking to the AI or were you talking to me?
The AI.
Okay, yeah. As you just said that, they're asking you to please wait while somebody is called to find out what you need to comply. Do you just sit there?
What's the source?
They're knocking on your door.
Hello?
"Excuse me, sir, could you come with us?"
Where am I going?
Just to have a conversation. We need to do an interview with you.
Okay, I follow them.
They kind of pull you down to the ground and handcuff you.
Like that?
Yeah.
Like that?
Well, you could roll to resist them if you want. You want me to roll for you?
Nah.
You just go along.
Yeah.
They take you down to the lower basement of the hotel, and that's kind of where I'm going to stop because I don't know where to go from there. I didn't know that was going to happen. You told them you were the zero. That was like, in a way, the very, very wrong thing to say. But how do you feel about that?
That's funny.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna shut it off now, and we can still talk, but I'm gonna shut it off.
Okay.
So until next time we get together, when can we get together again, friend?
Yeah, when do you want to do that?
Well, I'll shut it off and we'll talk.